Do you know who the Petticoat Pollies are? It's a very active group that's been around for a long, long time here in Salem. The name alone will tell you it's all about women, right? They began here in Salem, have been here since 1957. I'm going to keep giving another clue or two, but the name was changed in 1993. That's the year I first served in the legislature, and so I remembered a little of this as I was preparing. This group of Petticoat Pollies is now known as the Capital City Republican Women. And as I said, a very active and very influential group of ladies doing a lot of wonderful good things. Welcome to People, Places, and Politics. I'm Patty Milne, your host, and I have two great guests with me today. To my immediate right, Pam Kniffen. Pam, you are a former president of the Capital City Republican Women and now the treasurer.
That's true.
And Rosemary Scott, president this year and also very active, doing many, many things over the last few years. And I did ask both of you ladies to give me a bio, and I really liked, Pam, you said just a few moments ago, you are very sensitive to that aha moment when you knew that you wanted to get involved. So, and I'll start with you because you're immediately to my right here. Tell us about that aha moment for you and becoming involved in the Capital City Republican Women.
Well, it was March 23rd, 2009, the same date as my twin son's 19th birthday. So it's easy for me to remember, and I was so upset and mortified by what had happened at our Capitol that I went to my computer and typed in, "Help, I need to get involved in the Republican Party," and that's how I got involved. And I met some people who encouraged me to become a PCP, and from there I met Jan Williamson, who would have been great to be here tonight but can't. She was the Marion County chairperson, and she got me involved, and I became a District 20 chair and then the PCP coordinator. And then she said, well, how about being the president of Capital City Republican Women? And so then I did that, and I just love these group of women. They're just so vital and so great to be around, and it's great to be around like-minded people. So.
That is good. And Rosemary, your story is similar, and it sounds like maybe yours was a little more needing a pull. But share what brought you to this? What was that aha moment for you?
Well, a lady came to my door asking me to participate in the Republican Party, and I sent her away 2 more times. And finally, she's very persuasive. It was Marie Innes, and the next thing I know, I'm going door to door and talking to people about the Republican Party and the candidates, and then she talked me into going to a Capital City Republican Women meeting, and I joined. And the next year, I became a vice president.
Did you leave the room? Is that what happened?
No, she ran into me. I said, if I'm going to be president, you're going to be a vice president.
And it was, you want to be vice president because I want to be president. You need to get.
She had such great contacts. I needed her to help me.
I loved my job as a second vice president. It was finding speakers, and it was so easy because it was an election year, and we had candidates and others involved. I think we had Patty there.
Yeah, that was a great year.
It was wonderful, and I really enjoy my job. And now as president, it's very challenging. But.
Wow. And you both have professional backgrounds. Rosemary, you as a legal secretary and working at the county even, the district attorney, juvenile, and so you have a lot of, and we can talk more about some of your personal involvement, things that are important to you, volunteer work that really fits nicely with this. And Pam, you too, you're a CPA. Started a restaurant.
Well, I was the controller at the restaurant, yeah,
Well,
which is now Portland City Grill. At the time, it was Atwater's, and an exciting challenge. I'd worked for Boise Cascade prior to that, and had done all the different things with them, and then we decided to move to Portland, and that was so. Then I got that job. So then I quit to become a stay-at-home mom, and that
Prepare yourself for these responsibilities.
which was a huge job.
So the membership, the background, again, I mentioned in this opening, this quiz for the viewers, who are these petticoat ladies? The purpose, the mission of the Capital City Republican Women, what are you most focused on doing?
Keeping the public involved, know about what the issues are, and assisting the Republican legislature and the candidates.
Yeah, and we're the education arm of the Republican National Committee, which I love that. I mean, what better than to help educate people, get involved with kids, and so it kind of tends to be some of our focus is to educate the public, as Rosemary said, but also to work with different children. We do a dictionary project that, which is great. We've been serving a lot of homeschool kids. So the Rotary has taken all the public kids. So, but we found a niche with in shelters, women's shelters, and different things, and also homeschool kids that were not being served by Rotary. Don't take them from us, Rotary. Anyway, we love that. We love to be able to educate.
Good. And so that's part of the volunteer aspect of, it's not just all politics.
No.
It's public service in a different sense. I do want want you to talk about with the history of this organization going back to 1957 and the membership, the current membership. And Pam, you mentioned one lady in particular who's been there from, so talk a little bit about the membership. Again, we've talked about your background a little bit, just touching the surface. Who are these other people involved in Capital City Republican Women?
Well, we just got our 20-something, which is very exciting for us. And we have, I think, is Phyllis Hahn, our oldest, in her 90s. And she was the one that's been there since 1957. So it's a wide range of women, anywhere from 20 to 90. So they're all welcome, and we love it. We love having them all.
And they've all gone on to the Oregon Federation of Republican Women, or many of our members have gone on.
We have several that are involved at the national level. One of our members is the chaplain for the whole NFRW.
Wow.
We're really proud of her.
Yeah.
She's been past president of our club and of OFRW, and so people, stay very active.
There's a lot of talk these days about the younger generation just not wanting to be a member of any party. So what's your experience getting younger people to join the Capital City Republican Women?
You know, that is a tricky issue. We do Facebook. We're trying to do things by email. We're talked about doing things like Square, using visas. You think about the simple things that these 20-somethings are used to having, and I think just we have to bring them up, and I think the issues are still the same. We just have to reach out to them in a little different way. I think they have the same issues as we do.
And we do have some college participation too.
That's true, I forgot about.
Good. So not all of our young people have fallen off the cliff and become flaming liberals. And
I always say, you know, that these young people, you call them libertarians today, but they're our future Republicans. And a lot of them don't understand that they're libertarians. We have to teach them that they're libertarians, because on the social issues, they're much more progressive than we are. But fiscally, they tend to be much more, they want that fiscal responsibility. So, but those social issues become much different once you have your own kids and you start raising them. They actually say the libertarians many of them will be our potential Republicans in the future. So I try to identify them a little differently.
Yeah. So you're reaching out, and then of course to the college age kids and getting them. I know in my last campaign I spent a lot of time talking one-on-one to the college, the young college Republicans. They're amazing kids.
They are.
They're just amazing.
And I believe our 10 new members are younger, are of the younger generation.
Good, good. So I'm always curious. People had asked me, well, how did I get involved in politics? And it's kind of like your aha moment. It's like, okay, I've got to do this. I have to.
Yeah.
Being actively involved in the Capital City Republican Women, you both know everything about everything that goes on just a couple of blocks away. You're dealing with legislators and committees and issues. So, though your involvement, and it's been leadership positions for both of you in the Capital City Republican Women, so why have you chosen that versus, for example, the Oregon Republican Party? You mentioned the Oregon,
In Marion County.
Oregon, statewide.
Uh-huh.
You're focusing your time and attention and your volunteer work here with Capital City Republican Women. What is it about this group? And do you have thoughts of being more actively engaged statewide or even on the national level through the Republican Party?
We're trying to get her involved.
Well, I've been elected to be the district chair coming up for our district and for the OFRW, which is the Oregon Federation of Republican Women. So it's a gradual process. I have looked at was asked once to be a candidate, but I have a really hard time with primaries against my own Republicans.
Yeah.
I just hate that. The Reagan, 11th commandment. And if I could run unopposed in a primary and just go for a general, I think I'd be more apt to do it. And so, but you talk about Capital City Republican Women. It's just such a great group, and they're so dynamic, and they just we work so well together. And like I said, I've been involved at the Marion County level. It's all about leadership. I think there's some new great leadership in the ORP, and I keep telling them we need to become relevant. If we're doing nothing for candidates and issues, how do we expect ourselves to be relevant to them? So we need to make ourselves relevant, and I've come up with some ideas, and I talked to Bill Curry about it. And so, I just think there are ways to do it, but right now I think I can be the most relevant at CCRW with the greatest people in Salem, at least.
And we just had a meeting with Jody Hack, who is our District 19 representative. And we talked about how we all need to get together and make a plan so that we can have a bigger voice. And that would involve the legislators and the ORP, Marion County, us, and then, the same thing throughout the state eventually. We really need to work together to get things done.
And that's been a challenge for years and years. I know as long as I've been involved, that's everyone's desire. That's everybody's goal. What do you see, what can be done that hasn't been done before that might help that happen?
I think that our leadership now, they're all set on this goal. Marion County, the state, Bill Courier, and Jeff Smith.
Tyler Smith.
Tyler Smith,
Tyler.
I'm sorry. and us. And now we're in contact with all of the presidents of all of the state clubs.
I just think that if 1,000 women in Oregon put their mind to do something, pick a couple things rather than being scattered all over, if we decided to work on one or two issues, just think what we could do. And I think we've all been so involved in our communities that we forget to look at that big overall Oregon picture, that why, if we had the right leadership and the right goals, that why couldn't we imagine what we could take on? But we can't take everything on. And that's where you think you have to make some choices and say, what can we assign to the OFRW? What can we assign to the chairs of the counties? What can we, rather than us all just being scattered trying to put out fires everywhere, which we know is what's happening.
Priority right now has been attacking and addressing, to be a little nicer about it, but attacking may be the right word, this Common Core stuff that has invaded our schools and really working over our kids and upsetting parents. And you've been working on this issue. So how's the progress going on that?
Rosemary, you're probably more up on this than me.
I think that we're hearing more from parents who are noticing the stress that their kids are going through. My next door neighbor said that her daughter, who is a smart little girl, came home crying because she didn't understand the math program. And to me, it's a big waste of time. I don't know a lot about Common Core because my kids are grown and out. But it invades so many areas. The lessons are kind of geared to the socialist side of things. I mean, to me, it's propaganda. Our kids need a full picture, not one-sided.
Yeah. I don't know what's happening with that House Bill 2835, that the one that they're trying to give school districts the option to opt out of Common Core. That has not passed as far my understanding. Yeah. But that would be great, at least give school districts an option.
My thought on that is if they're willing to give them an option, then if there are this many school boards, what I read in the paper, and the little bit I've talked to some teachers and parents, like you, Rosemary, and my kids I'm dealing with grandchildren graduating from high school now.
Wow.
But that would be a step in the right direction. To totally eliminate it would be the best alternative. Let the teachers teach and let them work with the parents on what they're teaching. But what I've understood about Common Core, there are disagreements of that it is an actual curriculum or not. I think evidence has been provided that it is in some places. But the real disturbing thing for me that I've heard it goes along the lines of what you're saying, Rosemary, is they're forcing kids to work beyond at a higher level than what they are really prepared. Psychologically, I'm not using all the right terms, but this is why you teach people different things at different levels.
And in different ways.
Right.
Because we all learn differently, or many of us. Yeah.
But you're learning and growing at different levels as you get older. And what I'm hearing is, just for example, trying to teach kindergartners something that would ordinarily, and I'm making it up, but the point is what I'm trying. So you take some kindergartners and you're trying to get them to learn at a third grade level. Now you're always going to have those exceptional students who can learn at a higher level, but the average in that group of kindergartners, this is way beyond their ability. They're not ready yet. They haven't, their brain's not ready. They haven't matured to that to do it. And consequently, these kids, it's like, I can't do this because
so they've failed.
Beyond.
They have failed before they've even started.
I heard today that the target now is 3 to 3, so that the kids are learning at an earlier age how to read, because that's really what the problem is. That we've had kids graduating that don't know how to read. That's a big problem. And so I don't totally disagree. Preschool, might be a place to start, but I would hope it'd be a more casual start, and making it mandatory. I'm concerned about that because some kids aren't ready for it.
Yeah.
Right.
I had twin boys, and they learned things at a really different times because they were fraternal. They weren't identical, and so just that comparison that when one was ready to learn something, the other one might not be ready, and yet if it's mandatory, he's already failed, and that's scary. It's scary for these kids.
I do believe that small children are far brighter than we give them credit for, but at the same time, you can only encourage them, and then you're pushing them beyond their ability.
Correct.
And that causes that frustration and tears.
Yeah.
And so going back to what you're doing through CCRW and the efforts, what's happening, what I'd like you to talk about is maybe encourage some of the audience to give you a call and say, can I get involved? What are you doing to fight this battle, and what successes have you seen, or what do you hope to
I
see
think,
happen?
you know, it's our purpose to educate. And so we try to bring speakers who address the problems, who know more about it, like, for instance, going and talking to Jody Hack. She's on the education committee, and she can give us a lot of information. As a matter of fact, I'm overloaded today. But educating the public about what's happening and getting parents involved, that's the biggest problem. Is they're busy. It's difficult to find the time to stop and realize that their kids need their hands-on information.
So, and there's another issue you've been working on, isn't there, that you that's been pretty important to your.
Well, we were involved in the parental rights,
Yes.
and we were so excited. The OFRW in particular, but the Seaside Republican Women, I'm not sure that's what they're called, but that area was trying to stop the conference, the sex conference
Yes.
that was going on.
Yes. Yes.
And then we have there's an active group in Salem too, just trying to not allow Planned Parenthood into the schools because they're teaching some classes and trying not to have it spread. And there's a lot of things to keep our hands in, and our members are we all kind of pick our issues that we find interesting. And being at the state capitol, we could be down at the hearing rooms all day, every day, and so you do kind of have to pick and choose.
Yeah.
But I feel really fortunate about that. But
Well, most recently, you've been encouraging and talking about the gun bill that was passed and the Second Amendment. Counties are doing proclamations. Can you talk about that?
I'm not so up on, I know what's going on with SB 941, and I'm very much against. I don't believe it will help at all. If I thought it would stop anyone from shooting kids in schools and unarmed people, I would be the first one for it. Unfortunately, everybody knows there's no guns allowed in school, and so that may become a target. And unfortunately, 941 would not have stopped any of the Sandy Hook or Aurora or Clackamas Town Center. I think we're all for responsible gun control.
Yes.
I was raised on a farm. My brother and my dad, they all hunted, and my sons have hunted, and the first thing they do is get to such strict instructions on safety and those kinds of things. So it's, the criminals are going to come up with the guns, and it's not going to solve any problem. Let's figure out a way to solve the problem. I don't know if guns and, having teachers carrying guns is the answer, but I just can't see how this bill is going to change. The criminals are going to have access to guns anyway.
That's it. It's the age-old, the bad people, because
they don't follow any laws anyway.
They will find a way. They will do what they're going to do to harm people, whether it's whether it's with a gun or a knife or a pipe or a car. Run over. It's crazy to be offending our constitutional rights. What I was getting at is I became aware, and I thought that you had shared it with me, Rosemary, the counties that are stepping out and doing a proclamation saying we support the Second Amendment.
Yes.
And you're right.
I had an email saying that Lane County commissioners had sent out a proclamation, and so when I got that email, I sent a letter to our Marion County commissioners, and Janet Carlson responded and asked Jolene, I believe it is, to send a copy of their proclamation.
Oh, that's good.
And so that was good. That made me feel very good that Marion County is behind us too.
Yes.
You read in the paper so much about the gang activity in Portland, and it's starting to happen here in Salem.
I live in Woodburn.
And so they have to do something. I mean, these are people that are armed, and they're killing and hurting people. And private citizens are in danger of losing their right to protect themselves.
Right.
Did you see that Miller Elementary had a graffiti that said ISIL was here or is here?
Yes.
I'm like, what better reason to have a weapon in your home to protect yourself? I mean, that's so scary to think about that.
Absolutely, and yeah, there are terrible things happening, and you can look to whether it's in Salem, Woodburn, where I live, and I got involved with a gang task force back in the late '80s, and
How's it going?
But the point is, just what we're saying is, we have to change the thinking, this generational thinking, and it's opportunity, it's education.
It
It's
is.
distressing to me too that the voting goes along party lines. This is not a partisan
It's not,
issue.
yeah, it's not.
Such a good point.
And we need to have them realize that public has a right to protect itself, and something has to be done about the gang activity.
And it's a constitutional right, and these legislators or other groups who think they can tinker with our Constitution, they can't. And the Constitution is very clear that we have that right, and we need to, as you are doing through the Capital City Republican Women, and encouraging county commissions, city councils to reiterate that they're going to stand behind. When you're an elected official, you take an oath to uphold the Constitution. That's their duty, to uphold it for us, to represent us and protect those rights for us. So I was very glad to see that Lane County did that. And then I did read the Marion County proclamation. I was very proud of my county commissioners. So
That's great.
but these seem like small things in some ways, to do a proclamation upholding the Constitution, but it's not. It's a big thing.
And still, they are taking away parents' rights to make decisions for their children by making these laws that put agencies in control instead of parents.
Well, and to my way of thinking too, we touched on it earlier, preschool is good for a lot of kids, and that should be a parent responsibility to give their child that early education, and under their authority, and an education that meets their family values. We're going to run out of time in just a moment. So very quickly, give the contact information for Capital City Republican Women. If you want to give your own, or what can people look to, website, telephone number?
We do have a website. It's www.orgsites.com/or/CCRW. I know, way too much. And we have an email. This is simpler. CCRWSalem@Reagan, as in Reagan, ronaldreagan.com. So at
Great.
Reagan.com.
REAGAN.
Yes.
And org is ORG.
Yes.
Oh, it's okay. Org sites. Yeah.
Well, thank you again, Rosemary and Pam. This has been a great discussion, and I hope people will be a little bit more interested to look into becoming a member of the Capital City Republican Women.
Thanks.
We're a great and a friendly group.
Are we done?
Yeah.